book canon, so let's start the show. Joe and Jeff got the juice, keep the show on fire. Josh brings the news straight from the source with no desire. The judge, our wise advisor, keeps us in line. Fresh from the comic shop, showcase your design. Ask Joe the comic book ninja for insights to explore. The popcorn gets to know you from straight to the core. I guess I'll have to think, cause I'm remake some freaks. So much more to discover, this show's a hit. Anything can happen on a comic book canon. Anything can happen on a comic book canon. Anything can happen on a comic book canon. So let's start this show.
Is that threatening, Joseph?
No, because I know that that fist is attached to your body, and I am.
Oh, easy now. Come on. Get out of here. Like, come on.
Oh.
First of all, happy Father's Day to everybody. Sunday night, comic book canon. We're having a blast. We will be having a blast by the end of the show. I promise you that. Is that right, Josh? Joe? Because anything can happen on a comic book canon. Am I right? I need some of this, right? Let's just calm down, everybody. Damn, dude, you threw me for a loop because you had a big thing happen to you. Was it today? And I'm scrambling to get all of this done. That's right, Joshua. Like, subscribe. Let's do all the fun stuff. And so I'm a little frazzled right now, getting all of these little pieces of videos ready, edited for you within 10 minutes before we go live. So everybody, allow me to take a breath.
All right, Jeff, come on.
I need the show notes too, because I don't even know what's going on. I have nothing. I'm trying to make it all happen for you.
I vow to never call you 20 minutes before a show starts and say, hey, can you do this one thing first? Because we'll never start the show.
It never goes well. Let's put it that way. Let's see where our show notes are. Let's go here, shall we? I literally don't even have it up.
Oh boy. In the meantime, I hope everyone had a great Father's Day, whether you are a father or you have a father or whatever. I know I got lunch with my dad and his wife and my grandmother. I spent all morning, slaving over a hot stove, aka I ordered dim sum for everyone and went and picked it up. And brought it over to my grandma's, and we all met there, had a nice lunch together, hung out for a while. And it's always good to spend time with family, especially on these special days.
It is. And you kind of still have to stretch a little bit more because I am an absolute mess, as I said, but we'll get there.
Okay. We're going to be talking a little bit about superhero, or rather comic book dads. I think that's
that's true. That'll be a fun one for sure.
Yeah. And think about it. Don't put it in the chat yet, because we'll get to that segment in a little bit. But think about like all the good comic book dads, ones that have influenced your favorite characters, have and honestly, influence can mean one of two things. It can influence them negatively or positively, because there are a lot of really good comic book dads and there are a lot of really bad comic book dads.
Facts.
So we'll be talking about that in a little bit. And of course, fresh from the comic shop later on, I've got a pretty big thing to show off. A very, very cool, the best collection that I've gotten in quite a while. Very, very exciting. Almost entirely Silver Age and almost entirely one specific title. You're going to see some really cool books. I basically took my videos for posting on Instagram later, because I'm going to talk about this collection as the week goes on. But you all are getting a little preview of that here. So first dibs opportunity on this beautiful Marvel Silver Age collection.
Listen, congratulations on that. It is worth your while to check this out. Okay, I think we're good. I think we're good. We're good. We're good.
Okay. All right.
For this Father's Day, this is episode 228, as you all know. And our featured episode issue for 228. This is getting more and more difficult as time goes on. Again, I think, Joe, we're going to have to start doing, like, instead of 228, we would do something that ends with a 28. You know what I mean? It could be 128, 28, 328, that kind of a thing, because it is getting more and more difficult as these issues go up, because there's not that many indies, and you're really only dealing with Marvel, DC. Marvel or DC when you're getting this high up. So something to think about. But for today, we're going to do X-Men 228. It's not really a key issue or anything, but it is an in-between issue because most of the world knows that or thinks that the X-Men are dead. Featured episode issue is X-Men 228. After learning her friend OZ Chase has been arrested, Dazzler sets out to prove his innocence despite warnings from Wolverine. She uncovers a tangled web involving a mutant drug dealer, NSA secrets, and Russian assassins. With help from Logan and OZ, she takes down the real villain, Zaitsev, in a brutal final showdown, thanks in part to Cerebrus the dog. Joe, don't know if you have any thoughts on this issue right here. If you do, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, I mean, this was still, Chris Claremont chugging along, still, really putting out some great stuff. That's the thing about him. He really never really slowed down. You think about all that early stuff when the X-Men were, kind of leaving Earth, going to space, and then they developed, a lot of more terrestrial stuff with Alpha Flight and Dazzler and things like that. And then, this was the era that we got Mr. Sinister and we got Jubilee and we got Gambit. We got some amazing characters during this, the last couple years of this Chris Claremont X-Men run. I want to guess that this came out in like 89 or something. Oh, actually it's on the screen. 88. There we go. So, this was just, 3 years before the end of his X-Men run. And it's quintessential Claremont X-Men. You can't go wrong with it. The best run of comics by a single writer ever.
That's right. You hit it on the nose. It is written by Chris Claremont, story focusing on Wolverine and Dazzler, art by Rick Leonardi, and it was published in April of 1988. So that's a good one to start us off this week. And we're going to start off with some of the news this week. It's getting hot. It's getting hot out there. Not only literally, but in terms of the box office. Very excited to see those big few weeks in July. And we're going to talk a little bit about that because Josh let's have him introduce it, shall we, in this next segment.
Josh delivers the news and rumors.
Joshua, here we are. Deliver the news and rumors once again. Episode 228. On a scale of 1 to 10, how big was this assignment this week? These stories coming out this week?
Probably an 8, close to a 9. We got some juicy DCU news. Tickets went on sale for Superman.
Got mine.
Hey, I got mine as well. I wanted to go to an early screening on Tuesday, but my area is sold out, so that's not going to happen. But I have heard that supposedly some earlier screenings may happen at other cinemas, so we're going to look out for an announcement later this week. We'll have to see.
I'm a loser. I'm going to watch on Friday, but it's interesting. Adrian Baranowski is saying, "What's up, Joe?" You can ask Joe during his own segment, which is Ask Joe, coming up after the news, actually. So very excited for this because we got a new layout for you. We're going to feature you a little bit more. How's that sound to you, Josh?
Sounds good to me.
So we're going to get right into the news, Joshua. Our first news story. What do you got?
A multiple news story. It's a deep dive into the DCU Part 2.
Wait 1 second. I just want to take this opportunity with this new panelized setup for our news to just go, ooh, and I want the audience.
Ooh,
give us let's bring in Dan
really
too.
Good.
Dan, can you ooh and ah, please?
Oh, absolutely. I grew up with these guys. Ooh and awe, absolutely. Batman, Superman, the whole thing. In fact, you know what? I had something here that Josh.
We just wanted an ooh and ah because of the new layout. Josh is in the top corner.
Guy
More oohs and ahs. Here we go. Here's an ooh and ah. I grew up with these guys.
Oh my gosh!
Josh had profiled this comic last week. I bought this off rack back in the day.
He's taking over the show.
Keep this guy off.
This is a hostile takeover.
Not anymore. All right, Joshua, let's get started.
Yeah, so James Gunn did a interview for Entertainment Weekly, and he let up some good stuff, man. So he says he is currently writing a follow-up to Superman, but it's not a straight-up sequel. Superman will be in it, yes, but again, not a straight up sequel. So a lot of people, including me, and the rumors I spoke of a few weeks ago, thinking that is going to be World's Finest. I think Gunn is going to maybe introduce Batman and the post-credit scene at the end of Superman, tease us, or we might see it maybe in Clayface later next year as well too. But I think World's Finest would definitely be a great film. And you know what? James is good at assembling films with multiple teams, and I think him doing Superman and Batman together, making a film would be great. I'd say start it out as like Batman's unsure of Superman, and then like they fight off against each other, and then they find out they had the same mother, and then like they have to fight like a big creature, and at the end they become friends and form a team. I think that'd be great. So we'll have to see what happens with that. He also
hold on.
What?
I've had the wrong slide up the whole time.
This guy. Oh my God.
Unbelievable.
We're gonna give you a reprieve because you are a father and it is Father's Day, but any other you would be getting fines right now. You'd be racking up penalties.
No, I understand that, and I would take it like the man I am. However, there was a lot going on, especially the curveball you threw me. Anyways, I like this picture better for what we're talking about. The Superman follow-up. Joshua, you are specifically discussed what would come next after Superman. And Joe, I interrupted you so rudely because you had some thoughts. But we have the correct slide up. You're welcome.
So moving on, James Gunn is what?
Joe had some thoughts.
Oh, does he?
No, I didn't.
There we go. Just being polite. Moving on.
So James Gunn has also announced that superheroes have existed for over 300 years when we see Superman hit theaters. So, for instance, he gave a little written statement about it saying that, hey, if we walk down your current Main Street today and you saw a superhero, you'd probably be a little freaked out because you didn't know they existed. But in the DCU currently, if you see Superman or Green Lantern or the big giant Godzilla-like creature, people wouldn't be surprised. Again, superheroes, villains, aliens, all that have been around for over 300 years currently in the DCU, which I think is excellent because that means they can go back 300 years into the past and they can do some, older stuff. I would like to see a Justice Society of America original film set like, in the 1900s or something, or the 1920s. Let's see about that. Moving on, he has also said that as of right now, there is no Justice League yet. Obviously, we're going to be building up to the Justice League. I think we already can tell who the key players are going to be. Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. Jon Stewart, I think, will mostly be our Green Lantern. I'm sure Guy Gardner will probably tag along. We'll have to see how the rest of the cast fills out. I'm sure Supergirl at some point will probably be joining as well. But I think we're going to be getting more of a Justice League animated version of Justice League on the screen, which I think would be excellent. Moving on from there, he said post-credit scenes won't tease future projects unless it works. He learned that from Marvel and the mistakes they have made with...
Or the Zack Snyder mistakes, like this picture indicates right here.
Well, that too, which I think, by the way, this is an awesome tease that unfortunately didn't pan out because I think it would have been to see. He did confirm there was one end credit scene at the end of Superman, but he wants to make sure that if other filmmakers make end credit scenes as well, he's overseeing that. He doesn't want it to, make you think like, oh, hey, you might see this happen, and then 5 years later goes by, still nothing ever got done by the post-credit scenes. When asked if Ultraman was Lex Luthor's version of Superman, he said that was pretty close. Now, I have a rumor that I want to unload on you guys here. There's a villain in the latest trailer that dropped for Superman, which, by the way, the trailer looks fire. It looks amazing. And there's a long-haired version of a guy that is shooting the fire lasers at Superman. Henry Cavill has long hair currently. And I'm thinking, what if James Gunn cast him to play as Ultraman? I think that would be excellent. I'd love to see it. I know Joe's shaking his head no, but hey, who knows? It's just a rumor. I doubt it'll happen. We'll have to see. But the last big piece of news that he dropped is that the Wonder Woman film is officially being written right now. We do not know who the writer is, but Wonder Woman will be coming in the future. And you need to have, the big three, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, obviously, for the DCU. And I'm excited to see this project, and I hope it turns out well. And yeah, so there's a deep dive part 2, and look forward to July 11th.
For sure. I'm going to follow up on that. I did not, I didn't get the Wonder Woman one done. I'm a mess. But again, it's Father's Day, so everybody has to cut me some slack. But I'm psyched. I am psyched for this DCU. I'm psyched for this James Gunn and Peter Safran verse. I am psyched for July 11th. I got my tickets already. I am so excited because, again, Creature Commandos was like an appetizer people are forgetting right now. But that was so good. And that was the entryway. That was like opening the door a little bit to the DCU. And then this with Superman is going to swing wide open. So I'm really excited about this. So, Joseph, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you guys all know, everyone who's heard me talk on here, I'm not a super big DC guy outside of Batman and the Bat Family. That's stuff that I'm really into, but haven't done much reading for the other teams. They don't, Teen Titans I'm kind of into just from the shows and stuff like that, and I've read some of the story arcs, but Justice League, I'm not a big Green Lantern guy, Wonder Woman. These just aren't my characters, but I have some faith. I have faith in what James Gunn has done in other films and other franchises and other IPs entirely outside of comic books. Scooby-Doo, shout out. I have a lot of faith in what I've seen so far as his work in DC, because he did do the second Suicide Squad movie. He did do Peacemaker and Creature Commandos, and what we've seen is previews for this Superman movie. It looks like a really awesome movie. I'm excited to see what's to come. As always, I want these movies to do well. We all want these movies to do well. We want them to be good. And yeah, I'm certainly going to go see every single one of them that comes out.
And props to Bond, Paul Bond. First Gogo Bordello reference in comic book canon's history.
That's not true. Not true.
That is true.
We've talked about Gogo Bordello here because me and Paul saw Gogo Bordello live like a year and a half ago.
That's right. My bad. I worked with them. Though, by the way.
Love that band. I love that band.
I'm name dropping again. They were fun to work with. All right, moving on. We got more news to get to, right, Joshua?
Yeah, some more DCU news. A Mr. Miracle animated series has been announced. Come on, Jeff. So a few days ago, thank you. A few days ago, Mr. Miracle animated series was announced. Tom King will be showrunner, and he did a great run on Mr. Miracle too a few years back. Darkseid might be appearing as well, and it's rumored that this will be set in the DCU, and it's going to be more of an adult animated show, not really for kids. So we'll have to see what happens. I'm not big into Mr. Miracle, but I do think obviously they're building out, the gods and monsters, I guess you could call, of the DCU, and hopefully it's a part of it and will tease us for things that are coming later in the future. Again, we'll have to see how the payoff goes, but I think a lot of people are going to be very surprised with this, and probably hasn't heard too much about this announcement, but I think it's nice for Mr. Miracle fans.
I do too. It's going to bring in that whole Jack Kirby era of DC, especially with Darkseid being involved. So hell yeah, I'm all about this. And the fact that it'll be a mature, something akin to Creature Commandos, again, to build out the world of the DCU, I'm all in for something like that. Joe, I know this isn't your bag of tea. You like green tea usually. Huh?
I was just going to say, this is a character that I know very little about. So this is something I'm excited for, though. Like I didn't really know about, going back to Guardians of the Galaxy. I knew very little about those characters prior to the first film. That was never my cup of Marvel tea either. But Guardians are awesome now. Like that was one of the best, trilogy of movies in the DC, in the MCU, and they're household names at this point. So, Mr. Miracle, why not? Let's make it happen.
Definitely, let's make it happen. All right, moving on. What do we have next, Joshua? I promise I'll treat you right.
Yeah, we finally have some positive CGC news. We're teasing a big DC announcement, and there was a great video a day or two that dropped where I don't know if she worked for CGC, but a woman was on video and she met Jim Lee and she said, "Hey Jim, what's the rumor going around about DC labels coming to CGC?" And he gave a quick, funny look at the camera and sped off out of the office. And if I'm not mistaken, I was talking to some dealers today at a comic show, and I think they officially announced it today, if I'm not mistaken. But it looks like custom DC labels are going to be in CGC now. Finally, after I don't know how many years the Marvel ones have been in existence. I know since I started collecting in 2022, I've been wanting some DC love, especially some Batman labels to go on with my collection. I think this is great news. We're going to have to see what they, decide to go with, obviously, but I think a lot of fans will be happy with this news.
Yeah, I'm going to be totally honest. When this news came out, that was the first time I realized that there were no DC custom labels. Custom labels are not something that I go for, either for my personal collection or if I'm grading stuff to get to sell. It's only a couple bucks, so I understand why people get them. They look cool. It's just not something that's for me. So I've never really paid attention to them, and I never noticed until they made this announcement that there were no DC characters. It's just the Marvel characters and, a couple other random custom ones with either like artists or, the New York Comic Con logo. But yeah, I have, hold on a second. I have a lot of DC books. But it's all, okay. So I have Golden Age Batman and Swamp Thing, which would all be Bronze Age and Copper Age Swamp Thing. Those are really the only things that I truly collect. I mean, I've got a full run of Batman and Detective from New 52, just because I really like the Batman run, and I also had the Detective, so why not just keep that as well? But yeah, nothing really outside Batman and Swamp Thing.
Well, again, for somebody to say that you don't have anything, I mean, you love Batman. Let's put it that way. So for somebody to say that you despise DC or you're just not into DC at all, that's not true. But Marvel is your thing, so, and me too, but I think I appreciate, I definitely appreciate DC a little bit more than you. He didn't quite hit a nerve, although he will punch a hole in his wall once we go to
I will show up at your house, Derek. I will.
Yeah. All right, everybody. This is just your reminder. I mean, we have to do this. This is what our communications people say, that you have to like and subscribe. If not, you're going to be missing out on the #1 show, live show ever on YouTube in the history of YouTube ever.
15 million people watching right now, too.
It's a lot of people and it's a lot of responsibility, but we do it well. All right, Joshua, what do we have next?
Yeah, so Eyes of Wakanda is supposed to release in August of this year.
What?
And yeah,
August of this year? Get out of here.
Yeah. And on top of it, they did a little interview and they announced that Iron Fist will appear in Eyes of Wakanda, which is, MCU. It's official. It's going to be in there. It's not an Elseworld story or What If. But it is not going to be the Iron Fist that you people think it will be. This show is supposedly going to be set mostly in the 1600s, apparently, in Wakanda. So they're going to go back to way early history. However, I've heard that it's going to do some time jumps and go back to modern MCU. So they're going to be going back in time, not like time travel, but just telling different stories of their ancestors and related characters and everything. So it'll be interesting to see what Iron Fist they think of. I only know of Danny Reed and the female version of Iron Fist. I think her name started with Jessica or something like that. A more modern day. She was a more modern day Iron Fist that came out within the last 10 years or so.
Well, there was what's his name? Swordmaster.
Okay.
Swordmaster from Agents of Atlas took on the role in the last couple of years.
Okay.
And that's what I thought they were going for. That version of the character I thought might show up. Either way, the Iron Fist is a mantle. It is something that gets passed from character to character, and I guess it's been around since at least the 1600s. So this is a kind of a cool take on things. I'm wondering what Wakanda looked like in the 1600s. Had they discovered the vibranium yet? Because that's what really put their country on the map. Is the discovery and implementation of vibranium and vibranium products. Was that discovered at this point?
I wonder if they didn't discover it. Like I said, it's going to be going back and telling back to the 1600s. So I wonder if you're going to see like the form of Wakanda, and then maybe they didn't discover it until centuries later. Obviously, it'll be interesting to see how the show goes. But I love building worlds out, like how DCU's doing. I love how Marvel's doing this. And I'm not a big animated guy, but I'll check it out, especially if it helps build out characters and more backstory in the MCU lore. So,
yeah, I think this is going to be awesome. Eyes of Wakanda. I think that they're going to show different eras within that first season, if there are going to be multiple seasons, and having an Iron Fist from whatever era it may be is really cool, because we did see that in the Netflix. What was it? Season 2, Iron Fist. I know it wasn't. I actually liked the finale. It made me want to see more. But I think they focused on an old, an Iron Fist from a different era. So, going, that route with an Iron Fist from the past will be very cool. Because as you said, Josh, world building, it just expanding these universes. Well, this one specifically with the MCU since 2008. It's just cool, especially when done right. You turn a corner and there's this whole new world, and it's very exciting. So, all right, what do we got next?
So the last news of the week, and this might be the biggest news of the week, and it's not technically comic related, but in a way it is. Spaceballs 2 has been announced, and Lewis Pullman, who was Serenity in Thunderbolts, will officially star alongside his father, who is Bill Pullman, and Rick Morris. Yeah, I think it's Rick Morris, right?
Rick Moranis, yeah.
Rick Moranis. Yeah, he will be officially coming out of retirement. This film was supposed to drop in 2027. Now, some of the audience is probably wondering what the hell Spaceballs is.
Are you serious? There's no way. If you're,
I think there's a few people in the audience who are probably young who have never seen it. But a lot of us have. And if you haven't, Spaceballs is the spoof film. I feel like the film that took one of the greatest IPs and literally made it hilarious. Comb the Desert comes to mind. The big helmet that Rick wears, opening up, the aliens popping up at the end at the diner. It was just a really great film way to check out.
I don't know how they're going to do Barf, but
well, that's another thing. They haven't, this was just announced a few days ago. We'll have to see. Obviously, John Candy's no longer with us.
Yo, ready for this? I have the perfect casting for Barf.
Go ahead.
Shane Gillis.
Who is Shane Gillis?
How do you not know Shane Gillis?
Yeah. Hold on, let me make sure that's who it is. He's
literally like the most popular funny guy right now.
Yeah.
I have another good actor. I was thinking Jack Black.
No.
Okay. I kind of see that. He's just in too much right now.
He is too much. By the way, Naomi is the perfect correspondent for the story. All right, we'll send her to the red carpet. But by the way, Naomi is on vacation. I'm excited about this too. I think it's gonna be awesome, especially Rick Moranis coming out of retirement specifically for this. Incredible.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he's been retired since the '90s too, man.
Yeah.
And they tried. Go ahead, Jeff.
Go ahead, Josh. Go ahead.
I was gonna say they tried getting him to come out the last couple years for the last couple of Ghostbuster movies,
Ghostbusters, yeah.
like Ghostbuster Afterlife, and then the sequel they just had a few years ago. They tried getting him to come out, and you know what? Hats off to him because he decided to put his career on hold to help raise his children. If I'm not mistaken, I believe his wife passed away.
Yeah.
And he, you know, he didn't want to be away. He wanted to help raise his children. And at the time he stepped away, he was becoming the next big comedian, you know, comical movie guy. And I think he would have had a really great career and it would have been interesting to see what he did. But hats off to him. And I just think this film, and Max Brooks for being like in his 90s, still going hard at it and wanting to make this film. I can't wait. I think this is gonna be special.
Yeah, I grew up with not just, you know, this movie, which I loved because I was a huge Star Wars fan, and it was, you know, funny spoof of Star Wars. But just Rick Moranis in general, whether it was like this or Ghostbusters, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, he was in so much stuff that I watched as a kid. And you're right. I think his career would have gone similarly to like someone like Jim Carrey.
Or Steve Martin.
Steve Martin, yeah, someone who's just, you know, so comedically genius and so good at playing, you know, whatever character they wanted him to play. I would have loved to see where he went, but again, you know, he chose to, you know, put his career aside and take care of his kids, and I think that is a much more rewarding thing that he could have done. And let's be real. He made millions of dollars before this. He's fine financially and stuff like that. I'm sure he's very well off still. But it's great to see him come back. I'm sure his kids are adults at this point, and it's kind of the perfect time for him to have you know, a little comeback in his career.
For sure.
It'll be interesting too. Like I hope it's not one and done. I mean, maybe if he wants to try to make a, you know, complete comeback and start coming back and doing different films, we'll have to see. But you know, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, I would love to see a revival of that franchise. Have him show up as a grandfather and like his grandchildren get shrunk or something. I mean, come on. I could write some good movies here and make some money. I'm desperate for money. I need money, people. Help me.
You are pigeonholed into the news guy, by the way. The Adam Schefter, the canon, people see you in the industry as that. I'm not sure they see you as somebody who could write scripts and sell them. I'm not saying you can't, but you're pigeonholed, I think. Joe,
we got a fan cast Rick Moranis as an MCU character. So get thinking on that.
All right, we'll
after Ash show. We'll come back to that.
That's a good one. While we think on that, we're gonna hit the next news story. What do we got, Josh?
Well, before we get to that, let's announce that we're getting into rumors now.
Yep.
These are strictly rumors. Yeah,
well, we have something that indicates that. Do you see the red rumor? Look at that.
We'll work on it. We're gonna work on it.
Oh wow.
So,
anyways, we could. You know what I mean? He's gone. And it still looks nice, right, Joe? It's still a nice looking graphic that we can talk about, right?
It is, but we need to put Josh back as he needs to do the rumors because we need to move on to the next segment because it's already almost 8:39.
Go ahead.
So these are strictly rumors, not spoilers. We will announce if we do spoilers, which will happen on my channel on Josh's Comics. So Marvel has... First of all, Jeff, you got the wrong slide on, man.
Just do this story first, Josh.
So, the Punisher may be appearing in Brand New Day, a Spider-Man film. You know, another Spider-Man film. Woo! So we'll have to see. Obviously, I would love to see this team up. That would be pretty cool, considering that both John and Tom helped each other out with their auditions for the MCU. That'd kind of be like a full circle moment. And you know, from time to time, Frank and Peter do team up in the comics, and it would bring an interesting dynamic to Brand New Day, where you would see a darker, you know, Punisher coming into a essentially like PG-13 movie. But I'd love to see this happen, and you know, I think some other fans would too.
Yeah, no, Spidey and Frank have such an interesting dynamic, and. You're definitely. What are you yelling about?
An apple dessert. I freaking love apple dessert.
Oh my God, I can't believe
Unbelievable.
The amateur level that I have to work with here between Jeff and Josh is it's disheartening.
Me? What are you talking? I'm not bringing out like candies and foods on live. Like.
All right. Anyway, Frank Castle, Peter Parker, interesting dynamic. Yes, he can bring like a little bit darker, more violent, more adult spin to this, what we assume to be a newly, street level oriented Spider-Man. Welcome back, Jeff. How's your apple strudel?
I took one bite. That is delicious, and I am spoiled. Dan, thank you.
I just sold last night a Punisher slab signed by John Bernthal, and he's just one of those actors that now has become so synonymous and well loved in the role that no one wants it to be anyone else.
Yeah.
It's like Vincent D'Onofrio. It's like Hugh Jackman. It's like just such a great casting for a lot of reasons. And this would be cool to see. Obviously, the Punisher got his start in Amazing Spider-Man with issue 129 and showed up in a handful of more issues before he appeared elsewhere.
It would be very cool to see that, because as much as Peter has seen to this point in the MCU, he's not seen something like the Punisher, I feel like. And I don't know if naivete would be the way to describe it, but he would be just utterly shocked in what the Punisher does. And if you do bring the Punisher into a film, it's going to affect the audience in general in terms of little kids coming to see those things. I would not take my 9-year-old daughter or almost 12-year-old stepdaughter to that at this point. So that's something to think about. I don't know how they would approach the character, but seeing the MCU version of both heroes or Vigilante, whatever, seeing them team up would be really cool. And you're talking about that street level and Joe, you bring this up all the time, wanting to see that street level Peter Parker Spider-Man. This would bring him down to earth, literally. So I would like to see it personally. Go ahead, Joshua. I'll get we'll go to the previous slide that was supposed to play.
Yeah, we'll move on to the next story.
Or the previous one, but go ahead.
So, Marvel has reportedly resumed development on the Midnight Suns movie, and Ghost Rider may end up be the team leader. We will have to see. I'm hearing some other Ghost Rider interesting rumors that I'll be reporting on the next show as well. So we'll have to see what happens. I feel like Midnight Suns is a underrated team, but I think at current standing of the MCU, I think after Agatha all along, and the witchcraft and the different things that we're dealing with, I think this would be a good film to introduce some characters. Obviously, Blade, I would hope, would be part of the team. I'm not sure if Hannibal King would be also part of the team, but we'll have to see. But I think this would be something good to get Ghost Rider fans out there. And honestly, this could spin off to a good show and show the more sci-fi horror elements more of the MCU as well.
Yeah, this is something that I'm hoping for, kind of this darker, more macabre, horror-oriented team, whether it's, they decide to do Midnight Suns or Legion of Monsters or something like that. There are so many opportunities with these characters. There's characters that are werewolves and vampires. There's Ghost Rider. There's other like demon and devil oriented characters. There's so many ways to do this. And as we've seen, leaning into the horror stuff has generally done pretty well. Agatha was decently popular. And that's taking a pretty, low level character, getting her own show. Think about it. Who was a big Agatha fan prior to, seeing her in WandaVision? Not a lot of people. And then, of course, man, it's been a couple years at this point, but that Halloween special featuring Werewolf by Night and Man-Thing, that was great. And I don't know anyone that didn't like that. So I really hope they do more of this. I'm a big horror guy, both within the Marvel universe and outside of the Marvel universe. So this is something that I'm crossing my fingers. And we've gotten some rumors already about, Ghost Rider, potentially Ryan Gosling. But of course, we all know that he's going to be the new Black Panther now. So I guess they'll have to cast someone else as.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I absolutely want to see this too, but I just want to see Ghost Rider. Like out of all of the horror Midnight Sun stuff, I want to see Ghost Rider. And Josh, we totally ripped you off. I think I don't know where you brought it up, but posting a video, as the canon, asking viewers who they would want to see as Ghost Rider, Keanu, Ryan Gosling, or Norman Reedus. And it was pretty evenly spread out in terms of answers, but I got to see Gosling as Danny Ketch. I want to see Danny Ketch as Ghost Rider. That's what I want to see.
So I also want to say this one thing. At the end of the third act, if this movie happens, I want Mobius to come on the screen and be like, "It's moving time," and then
we need to move on from that.
All right.
Yeah.
If there wasn't one more rumor that we had, I would say kick Josh off right now for the remainder of the show. But Josh,
we gotta get to it.
Get to the last rumor so we can kick you off.
So this last one I think is interesting because it could definitely do other things in the MCU. Marvel Studios is reportedly interested in bringing back Hela back for an upcoming MCU project. And why I heard rumors that Thor 5 is in the works, it'll probably happen after Secret Wars. I think this is interesting because we have some returning villains such as Ultron. We have some Iron Man 1 villains as well. And I feel like the MCU has used some of these villains in like one shots, obviously like her, one and done. I feel like they have some rich villains that they could bring back and let them have some arcs, let them be in some films, like there's a lot of good, like Red Skull. I felt like, come on, man, one movie. I feel like he should have been in a few movies, or he should at least, if we reset the universe, have him some way return. I feel like the MCU needs to bring back some of these villains, use them right, and like you guys could have a great rogue gallery in the MCU. So we'll see what Marvel wants to do in the future, but I'm all up for this if this happens. And if she doesn't return for a Thor film, it'll be interesting where they decide to put her at and what character or what film.
I'm all about Cate Blanchett returning as Hela. She was awesome in that role. The character was amazing. I mean, that film was, the best Thor film by far. I would love to see her return. I'd even prefer to see her not part of a Thor film. Something completely different. So I'm definitely on board with that, Joe.
Yeah. Like you said, this was the only Thor movie, really, in my opinion, worth watching. That's obviously a bold statement, but in my opinion, it's Ragnarok or nothing. But yeah, either way, I mean, it's great to be, bring these characters back and flesh them out a little bit more. They've unfortunately, had some bad runs with some of these villains, and either killed them off or just kind of, basically neutered the character going from the comic book to, the big screen adaptation. And it falls flat, when you're only putting them in one movie and you really can't, dive into character development and intent and reason and stuff like that. It makes these villains just so boring sometimes. Not to mention some that were just, terrible castings and things like that. Like, man, The Marvels was such a good movie other than the villain. And that's such a big part of these comic book movies that it made that movie not great. And I wish it had been, someone that we cared about as a villain, because that movie could have been awesome. That like buddy cop vibe between Carol Danvers and, her new rookie partner, aka Kamala Khan. That could have been so good. And yeah, I think that they really do need to focus a lot more on doing the villains correctly, casting them right, using them appropriately, and maybe spreading out their appearances over a couple of movies rather than just one and dones.
It's hard to, again, with this MCU, it's like weaving all of these things in and having multiple appearances by all of these villains. And I I agree with you because I like to see these villains returns just like they do in the comic books. And yes, Nukes, Red Skull was in Infinity War and Endgame. I don't know if I don't think Josh says he never came back, but he was in a way underused because the Red Skull is like a top 10 villain of all time in Marvel. So I hear what you're saying. I would love to see it as well.
Can you bring up Derek's comment real quick?
Can we bring up Derek's comment? He's commented, Josh just wants Gore to return.
Let me tell you something. If they would have gave Christian Bale the screen time that he supposedly had, he had over 2 hours of footage he filmed for Gore. That film was a 4-hour cut. From what I heard, he did a lot of great stuff. And if that movie was shot differently, I think Gore would have been an amazing villain. And Christian Bale, which is probably the best part of that film, I think we can all agree. So if that ever happens, I think Gore returns in the stories, if I'm not mistaken. Like, he comes back maybe. But, hey, if Christian Bale wants to come back as Gore and they want to do it right and give him some good screen time, I'm down for it.
100%. I don't see it happening, though. All right. Right there, though, guys. I think that ends the news. Am I right, Joe?
Yeah.
You are correct there, sir.
Joshua, another stellar performance, being the Adam Chapter of Comic Book Canon. We truly appreciate you. You will be back before the end of the show, but before you leave, do you have any further comments you would like to say on the new layout for yourself or how Joe and I have treated you today? Talk to us.
I just want to say Happy Father's Day.
Just delivers the news and rumors.
He really didn't expect it. I threw the bait out there and he bit it.
You got him once again.
Line and sinker, everybody. Josh is fantastic. He is the Adam Chapter of Comic Book Canon, giving us all the news, rumors, and details without the spoilers. Spoilers will be on his channel. But we're going to get to our next segment right here. It's Ruling from the Bench, this brand new segment. This is the second one right here, and it's getting better each time. Each time the judge is bringing the heat with some books you need to be looking out for from this Ruling from the Bench.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Ruling from the Bench. I'm Dan Delatorre. This week, we profile the book Fantastic Four number 141. With Fantastic Four on its way, Annihilus has been talked about quite a bit, especially Fantastic Four Annual number 6, a bit of a pricey book. But one book that no one really seems to be talking about is issue 141. In this issue, Annihilus injects Franklin Richards with cosmic rays, and this seems to activate his latent power. Franklin Richards became the most powerful being in all of Marvel Comics, but his power starts right here. And the strange thing is that for the most part, no one's really talking about this particular issue. I have one. I plan on getting a few others. And if you want to get on the ground floor with this particular issue, I'd get one sooner than later. Everyone, thanks for joining. For the Comic Book Canon Show, I'm Dan Delatorre, and this is Ruling from the Bench. Case dismissed.
I love it. I love this new segment from Dan, giving some wisdom on the bronze and silver. Actually, just comics in general and what to look out for. So if you have any suggestions for Dan on any characters or topics or series that you'd like for him to talk about, please hit us up in the comments below or hit Dan up in his DMs, the direct messages on the Instagrams. I am so sorry, but I'm really not. All right, so today is Father's Day, and we did a little thing. The 5 of us, that's right. Me, Joe, Josh, Dan, and Naomi came up with our favorite fathers of comic books. That's right, the dads of comic books, and we're going to get to it right now. But before we do, let's bring in these wonderful people here. Josh, I don't understand. Something must be wrong with your camera. You got kicked off. I just, it hurts to see sometimes.
Jeff, I know it's Father's Day. I got you a present.
He was going to give me the finger, wasn't he?
100%.
I gotta.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew it.
it.
Yo, you're a mechanic. You need to fix that thing. It's going way too slow.
My! I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was gonna open up like that. My bad.
Anyways, we're gonna get into it right now. So each of us picked our favorite dads of comic books, right? So y'all put your favorite dad in the comments and see if they match up with any of our choices. We're going to go with, actually, Joe. We're going to go with you first. So why don't we
okay.
get to it right now? Boom.
Yeah, so I picked Battling Jack Murdoch, the father of Matt Murdock, aka the Daredevil. And this character kind of exemplifies a parent who will do anything to do what is right for their kid. This is a man who had a kid very young, and unfortunately the marriage between him and Daredevil's mom Maggie did not work out for several reasons. She had some issues. She ended up leaving the family entirely, and Jack was a single father for the majority of Matt's childhood. And he came up in New York City in a rough area, and he wasn't super educated. He wasn't someone who was a higher earner or anything like that. He was a boxer, and he did some work on the side for some unsavory people as well, just to make some ends meet, because he wanted to provide his son the life that he wanted. And with Matt, he saw in Matt what potential he had, a super smart kid, far before any abilities came into play. Matt was, outdoing, Jack's knowledge, while in, elementary school, and just learning things, outside of the scope of his education. And he saw that potential, and he wanted to provide that life. And he also wanted to provide important lessons, which unfortunately was one of the things that led to his untimely death. But the lessons never stopped. Everything that Jack did in his life led to Matt not only being able to go to college and grad school and become a lawyer and be successful in that realm, but also led to his his moral compass and his desire to do the right thing when faced with hard decisions. And that is why I picked Battling Jack Murdoch.
I think it's a great pick. And again, that final lesson he taught his son, just kind of not going down, right? Not going down, even though he had the odds against him. Not the odds, but he had certain people that were really wanting him to go down. So well done, Joe, on this one. We're going to move on to, how about we do Dan? How do you feel about that, Dan? You're going to be next. Ooh, didn't want to take I'm learning this new setup. Dan, who do you got?
By the way, great pick, Joe. Great pick. So many stories that I could have chosen from, but this stands out above everyone else. And that is the deep love that Odin has for his son, Thor. There are so many stories that profile this, and this is Thor number 127. He's battles Hercules. Doesn't do very well for a lot of reasons. But they went back and forth. It was a bit of a volatile father and son relationship, and some can relate to that. I certainly can relate to that. But it all came down to Odin having a deep love for Thor and trying to guide him through his life, which, dealing with Midgard, of course, Earth, he had to intervene a few times, more than once. But again, the stories always were down to earth, which is why I love the Stan Lee and Jack Kirby stories, because they hit home. And so this is my pick for this particular segment here, Odin. And by the way, I was reading, this is a quick aside here, Thor 183 through 190, I think it was, great story, but it bring into question how powerful is Odin. Odin had so much power, and this is part of why he sort of guided Thor the way he did, because again, these are gods, not human people, human beings. So he had to look at a different way, because Thor was the inheritor of all the power that Odin had. So again, he had a lot on his plate, but again, it was very, very moving, especially some of these deeper issues with their father and son relationship. You can't deny the love that they had for each other.
I love this pick. As you said, he's a god, right? He thinks a little bit differently than us mere mortals. However, the thing that we can relate to, and that's what the early Marvel stories were all about, something that hadn't been done to, is being relatable, these characters. The thing that we can relate to is the bond between the father and the son. Dan, well done right there. Everybody, like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And please put in your picks for best comic book dads. I see a few ones that I wouldn't think that would normally be said, but Thaddeus Ross, love that. And then Norman Osborn as well. So that's quite interesting indeed. So, all right, we're gonna move on to who are we gonna move on to, Joe? Who shall? It's got to be Josh.
Josh.
Let's do it, Josh.
I'm
Josh,
back.
what do you got?
So my pick was Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, and I think Bruce is one of the best fathers out there. He adopted quite a few children. Well, maybe not adopted, more like kidnapped them, kind of. But he ultimately, whether they're his adoptive sons, Tim, Dick, or Jason, or his real son Damian, or you could make a case for Barbara Gordon and some of the other Batgirls in the family as well. Bruce's love, which is really tough love, but he taught them all, how to trust your instincts, how to work on your skills, become better versions of yourself, how to never give up no matter what you're doing. He is, in my opinion, the almost ultimate father out there. And then also a bit of a personal story, because when I was growing up, I always looked at myself as Batman and my father was Robin. Really, when I look back at it, he was the Batman and I was the Robin. And in many ways, my father and Bruce are very similar. Obviously, they didn't fight crime, weren't millionaires. I'm not rich or loaded with money, but he taught me a lot about, believing in yourself. What Bruce does the same thing with his family. Believe in yourself. No matter what, you can achieve your goals as long as you believe in yourself. And I just think, a father is anybody. And a father, whether you're blood related or not, again, he stepped up, has many, many children in his family. And hats off to Bruce Wayne.
Well done there. And I like how you bring in your father as an example and how you can relate to that. So props to you. Thank you for sharing that with us for sure. I don't know. Anybody else here want to talk about Batman as the father figure, or the father actually?
Yeah, this is a cool one. Obviously, he's got biological child, but also he's helped so many people. These often orphaned and or troubled kids, and or in Tim Drake's case, more just someone who needed wanted to do good and needed the guidance in order to do it. Definitely a cool take, because obviously most of his quote unquote children weren't his biological children, but they certainly were treated as such, for better or for worse sometimes. But yeah, this is a cool pick for sure.
Now Naomi isn't here, but Josh wanted to do something against the rules and pick two people. And Joe, come on, who gets to pick two people? We each pick one. However, since Naomi isn't here, you get to talk about Naomi's pick, which is
Alfred. Now, why Bruce is one of the ultimate fathers, I think we can all agree that Alfred might be the ultimate. Alfred, who took Bruce under his wing, and there's different versions of this, whether he showed him martial arts and gave him training, or whether he was just, giving him a sandwich and some tea at night with cookies and a nice hot apple pie that Jeff likes. Alfred has been there and literally taught Bruce how to be a father. And in many ways, there are scenes throughout Batman's history where they've touched on this. And I think Alfred, in a way, without Alfred, Bruce wouldn't be who he was, wouldn't have the family that he had, and be able to taught his sons and daughters, obviously, the way how he was. And I think Alfred, has to be mentioned as I said, maybe the dad. He lost his friend Thomas Wayne and Martha, and then he had to pick up the pieces. He never had kids of his own, depending on what lore you're looking at. But yeah, so I think Naomi had a great pick for Alfred, and wish she was here to comment on this, but I'm filling in, obviously. So I think this is a great pick for her, and another great name added to the great dad's list.
Now, 100%. And Joe, you said it. Caleb kind of alluded to it because you'll hear from me in a second. But dads could also be unrelated too, right? But I mean, there's not much more of an important figure in Batman's early childhood and life than Alfred. So well done right there. Here we go. This is what we want, people. Tell us. Kylo Ren's dad was awesome. 100%. 100%. Han Solo is, I mean, who didn't want to be Han Solo? All right, my turn now, guys. My turn. And Caleb, you and I, right? Because it's my favorite character of all time is Spider-Man, and here we are with Uncle Ben. And to instill such morals inside a young person as Uncle Ben did with Peter Parker, and the love he shared for him, taking him in, especially when Peter's parents died, kidnapped, whatever they were at this point. I don't know how much canon has changed, but Ben Parker exemplifies what it means to step up, to show love, to give love, and kind of guide a young child the right way through life. Nobody more than Ben Parker, in my opinion. And that is absolutely 100% my pick right there. Like, I didn't even hesitate. And I know, Joe, your pick was awesome, but it took you a hot second to get there because you picked Ben Parker. I did. Well.
First thing I said was Uncle Ben.
And so you and I both thought the same thing too.
Yeah.
So and he made great rice, Mark says. But I don't know if anybody else wants to comment on Ben Parker, but my God,
I'll say the love this man has, whether you could call him a father or a stepfather, I don't think any other father figure has died as many times in comic history, in books, movies, and shows than this man has for his nephew.
I mean,
so that says a lot right there.
And speaking of Father's Day, too, I do want to point out that Alicia, a.k.a. Guyana Brightlight, y'all should follow her. Sorry about the apple fruit stick, guys. It's Father's Day, so she wanted to treat me, and she did. And she agrees. Uncle Ben is the best. You're the best. I love you, Alicia. This is getting a little too...
Yeah, but how many times has he been killed on screen?
All right, stop. Anyways, so right there... Tell us again. I love Splinter right here. Splinter's a good one. Raising Ellen with Splinter.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any that they want to throw our way? Happy to talk about it a little bit more, but we do have to keep the show moving because
Anakin Skywalker.
I'll say it again.
Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader,
is a great dad.
In the end, he was. He didn't kill his son.
Yeah, do you have any comments?
If not killing your son makes you a great dad, I know a lot of great dads.
He did cut his hand off, though, so that kind of goes against him.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't cut. No, Luke cut his hand off.
No, he didn't.
Next segment.
Yeah. Let's save this for next year.
Next year, okay. So we'll save it for next Father's. Everybody, please have a happy Father's Day and check out the new Comic Book Day pick of the week. It is wild.
Citizens of Oak Valley, you cannot run. You cannot hide. We will find you. Exquisite Corpses, Issue 2.
Naomi getting a little creative, a little wild with with her pick of the week. She was on. She is on vacation now. I mean, she hasn't accrued those vacation days, Joe. We got to look into that. But
Yeah.
she is a new hire.
She
But yeah,
the loophole. That's fine.
Exquisite Corpses was left a mark on her, and she's all about it. So obviously, I guess Exquisite Corpses number 2 will be Naomi's pick of the week for this Wednesday. I don't know it off the top of my head. Oh, the 18th. So be on the lookout for that. Pick up issue 1 if you have not already. Man, it's been a long show. We're going to get through one more video rolling, as we say in the industry, and then we'll get to Fresh from the Comic Shop. But check it out. Again, we are featuring each member of the Fantastic Four leading up to, I think, July 4th. It comes out a few weeks after that, but we're knocking these out. Here's Mr. Fantastic. Did you know, Joe? Actually, let me ask you, who was Mr. Fantastic based off of when Stan Lee and Jack Kirby created him?
Oh, well, let's see. We know that Thing was based off of Kirby. I don't think that he would have been based off of Stan Lee.
Does it have to be a fictional character or?
Oh, I'm just trying to think of someone who's naturally very stretchy, and I can't. So
You're not
I don't
gonna
know.
get it.
Let's
So
find
just
out.
Watch this because
Malcolm X.
You did not know.
Did you know Mr. Fantastic was originally inspired by Doc Savage and Sherlock Holmes? Before Reed Richards was stretching across comic book pages, he was stretching across genres. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby didn't pull Reed out of thin air. They intentionally based him on 2 literary giants, Doc Savage, the pulp-era Man of Bronze, and Sherlock Holmes, the master of deduction. When creating the Fantastic Four, they envisioned a leader who wasn't just strong, but also brilliant. Savage had the brains. Sherlock had the logic, the mystery solving, and that trademark, let me explain everything you missed moment. Reed Richards, he had all of that, and a PhD or 5 to boot. But while the blueprint came from Savage and Holmes, Reed eventually evolved into something completely his own. He wasn't a copy, he became Marvel's first true intellectual superhero. His powers were flexible, but his personality, not so much. That icy brilliance made him fascinating and frustrating. So, the next time you see Mr. Fantastic calculating while the world crumbles, remember, he started as a mix of pulp legend and literary detective, but transformed into one of Marvel's most complex minds. What do you think? Is Reed Richards still Marvel's greatest genius, or its most emotionally unavailable hero? Let us know in the comments. And if you didn't know, now you do.
There you go. Doc Savage and Sherlock Holmes was the kind of the fuel that created Mr. Fantastic. But let's be honest, that guy is unique on his own right, in his own right. And again, emotionally closed off, but absolutely brilliant. So really cool to see a character like that. Kind of just the background, because you don't hear much about Mr. Fantastic. The Fantastic Four has been kind of neglected by Marvel the past, I don't know, couple decades, I would say. Now they're really pushing for the first family to get out there with this film coming out and getting to know these characters better, and they're going to become more popular no matter what. It happens with it's the MCU effect. So having an understanding of where they came from it's fun for us comic book fans. So yeah, Joe.
Yeah, I wouldn't say neglected as much as mishandled. I think that's more because there's been 3 movies in the past 20 years.
I'm not talking just movies though. The series too. You know what
I
mean?
so I don't read Fantastic Four ever. So I can't really comment on that, but there's always been a Fantastic Four run.
Actually, there's been a little bit of time where it wasn't. It was Future. Gosh, somebody help me out in the chat. Future. What's that?
Future Foundation.
Future Foundation. There was no Fantastic Four series. And then there was another...
Future Foundation was a Fantastic Four series. It was
That's
literally called
Fantastic Four, though. Oh my God, that's not Fantastic Four.
Yes, it was.
No,
it was all the members of its Fantastic Four.
Anyways, and Spider-Man and come on,
other people too. Yeah.
All right, I don't want to fight with you, Joe.
Okay, let's
We're brethren, and we live in the same house.
Kiss and make up. Okay, there we go.
Oh, you got some tongue.
Why are you using so much tongue?
Oh, that's gross. Anyway, moving on. We got to move on to the last segment of the evening. not that.
Not that one.
Fresh! Fresh from the comic shop. Your collection's treasures ready to pop. It's time to share, don't let it flop. Fresh from the comic shop. Take a shot, make it bright, give it style and flair. Show a book that's unique, something rare out there. Tell us why it matters, what's the story behind. Pull at our heartstrings and you'll surely shine.
Sponsored by Crafty Comics, where collections flex their style. Museum quality slabs and displays with 99% UV protection. Because your fresh gets deserved the spotlight.
Fresh indeed. That's right. You guys upload your fresh gets onto the Instagrams. Use the hashtag FFTCS. Make sure you tag Comic Book Canon in the picture, not in the description. Take a well-composed shot, something that relates to the book. Have fun. Think outside the box. You could show off a unique book that goes a long way. And pull at our heartstrings. Those are the 3 pieces of criteria. Well-composed shot, unique book, and pull at our heartstrings. Tell us a good story of this book, what it means to you. All right, Joe, we're going to get right into it here. As we all know, we'll just go over memories here, which is Mons Comics is our January winner. Our February winner is Dr. Plagueis. March, it is Super Crispy .comics. Our April winner is Nori Jordan. May winner is Mike Hags. And that leads us to our first semifinals in June, which we had a rematch of the semifinal. It was the semifinals last month as well. It was Raising Elm versus Mark Leneker. Raising Elm with the M&M submission, Mark Leneker with the Italian Spider-Man. And Mark Leneker, you are moving on to the finals with the Italian Spider-Man. That is right. Well done right there. Wanted to just go over that. And we're going to get into it right now. Because, Joe, you barely teased this, by the way, that you have some fire, as Josh likes to say, some fire.
Bangers.
In terms of fresh gets, but it's video form only. So we're going to get into it.
Well, there's a little in-person form as well.
Oh, I like the tease.
Let me handle it. I'll do it.
I like the tease. Well, Dr. Guion is in the house.
Woo!
We missed you, buddy. We missed you. And Mark Leneker, congrats. You are moving on to the June finals. The June finals. All right, let's move on. Here we go. And talk about pulling at our heartstrings. Wait, what? We have to, you guys have to put that spoof of the Italian Spider-Man. Oh, we don't have the video, but I know what you're talking about. All right, moving on. We got Spud Comics right here. A Haunted Girl #1. I definitely got this book as a freebie from Tennessee or TN Comic Collector many moons ago. And I have to say an overwhelming thank you because the story genuinely changed me. Not only was it captivating, but if you go to the next slide, I wasn't able to read this, but if you go to the next slide, Alexa, you are here, so please give us some more context. I should have zoomed in. Where is it? Go to the next slide. You'll understand why I cried real ugly tears after finishing the story. As someone with countless amount of mental health issues, how do I put this gently? Someone with parental figure issues, there is something so beautiful about being in one of the darkest moments of your life and being seen and heard and cared for, especially by a parent. If I had the story in my lowest times, I would have felt so incredibly comforted, and I cannot thank everyone involved with this project enough for putting out something so beautiful. I still need to finish the story, but issue 1 was perfect enough for me. Lexi, thank you for sharing. I am someone else who has dealt with mental health issues. And, it's always nice to have that person or even something there to keep you grounded and give you hope. So I hope that's what gave you hope was this book right here and helped you out at a moment in time. So for sure. Joseph, Why don't you show off your first fresh get of the week? I heard it's a banger.
Mine's all going at once, but let's do it now. So, little backstory here. When I first got into doing the social media comic book thing years ago, about 4 years ago at this point, I met some people online, just like Jeff and I initially met online, and Josh and I initially met online, and Dan and I have only met online. We have not met in real life yet, but I hope to at some point. I met these two brothers from New Jersey, and I've been in correspondence with them over the years. We've met at shows and stuff, and hung out. And they both just happened to hit me up last week. One of them wanting to do a trade, and one of them wanting to sell me a big chunk of his collection. So I got together with them over the weekend and did a trade with the one. He gave me a bunch of slabs for one big slab. He kind of upgraded to a big book. And his brother sold me a really nice collection. And let's just kind of go through. I'll talk about this. Let's take a look. Some of these books are pretty cool right here. X-Men 1, no 2 and 3, but we got 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So the exception of X-Men 2 and 3, this is the first 20 issues of X-Men, 18 out of the 20 of them. And most importantly, 1 and 4, the first Scarlet Witch, and of course, the first X-Men, the first Magneto. Awesome books. Some of them were graded already. As you can see, some were raw. And I've got 2 of them right here to show off, of course, the 2 big ones. Damn. Boom. First Scarlet Witch and the first X-Men. This one actually already sold, already accounted for. I have a regular buyer of mine who had been asking. He has every X-Men book all the way up to 544 except for number 1. Well, guess what? He's now one payment plan away from getting this X-Men number 1 in his hands. We already came to a price and everything. This is the second time I've had this book, but this is the first time that I've had the first appearance of Scarlet Witch. I've never found this book in a collection before. I am very tempted to keep it. We're going to have to see if that's in the cards for me. That's if I do keep any book from this collection, is going to be the first appearance of Scarlet Witch. Now, I will say that if you're an X-Men fan, take a look at this next little video right here. This is the continuation starting with issue 21. The Silver Age X-Men run lasted 66 issues, and then they went into reprints starting with issue 67. This was almost complete.
Damn.
This was 54 issues from 1 to 66, so only missing 12 issues, and really issue 2 and 3 were the only like bigger issues that were missing. The other big keys are here, first appearance of Havoc, first appearance of the Sentinels and Juggernaut and Sunfire and all those characters. Sauron, issue number 50 with the Steranko cover. This was a beautiful collection, almost complete. So that being said, I will be posting this later this week on Instagram. You got your first look at it here, and I will be doing an all X-Men sale at some point in the near future. So I figure, hey, I've got, the collection also had some bronze and copper X-Men, first Gambit, first Mr. Sinister, all the keys and stuff like that. So I figured, let's pull some out from my inventory as well, add it to this lot, and do an all X-Men sale. That will probably be the week after Heroes Con. That's what I'm thinking, which is not this coming weekend, but the next weekend.
That's freaking fantastic, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. We're going to move on to real Caleb Leland, a.k.a. Cable Leland. Evening, comic fam. It's humid here in the middle of nowhere, Iowa, but it's Friday the 13th. To celebrate the spookiness, I swear I'm not wearing a mask. I'm just goofy looking. Here's a little book I happened to pick up recently. Hellboy Weird Tales, issue number 1. Isn't a key, but it has a gorgeous cover by the recently departed John Cassidy. I believe this was more of an anthology series, which you folks all know is up my alley. So I humbly submit this for Fresh from the Comic Shop as I keep counting down the days till Halloween. Much love as always, and stay spooky. I love this right here. Caleb, you actually, out of everybody in our community here, you put yourself in the picture the most, and we truly appreciate it. However, this face is scaring the crap out of me. No doubt about that. I'm going to go real quick on my fresh gets. They're actually not brand new issues, but I love this shop. It's the second time I've been here. It's called Sucker Punch Comics. It's in Connecticut. And I just found some cool books. I think you guys will appreciate them. I have this book, but I was like, hell, for $3, I'll get this again, especially in a newsstand. It's Gambit #1.
Ooh.
Their newsstand. It is not in the best of condition. There are some spine ticks here, but for $3, right? Not a bad.
Oh, that's great.
Not a bad pickup right there. We got the Vision #1, the Tom King. It's the Tom King book right here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
They'll take some inspiration from this book for Vision Quest, is what I've heard. Joshua has to confirm that or deny it. Now, this one right here, I don't know. It was too good to pass up. This is actually in really good condition. Well, there's a little spine tick right here, but it's Daredevil 150, the first Paladin.
Ooh.
It's in really good condition too. So I think Mr. De La Torre would appreciate that one the most out of all 3 books I picked up. This one was only $10, so I want to crack it open and smell it. Does that make me weird?
A little bit, but we all do.
Yeah, that's fine. But you understand. You know what I mean? You understand. You do. Raising Elm Comics is up next. Comic fam, it's humid here. Wow, there's a humid subtext here to this show. Evening Comic fam, it's humid here in the middle of oh geez, that's real Caleb Leland, that's why. Oh God, I am losing it tonight. Howdy Comic fam. Not too long ago, I found an interesting comic for Eli, a copy of the Amazing Spider-Man Adventures in Reading. Let me tell you, this boy loves his books. That's really good to hear, by the way. We read to him every day. He can say his nursery rhymes. He has memorized certain books on his shelf, and he can even spell a word or two. We even took him to the library for the first time a few weeks back, and he loved it. Eli, you may not be able to read this yet, but Mom and I are so very proud of you. You are super smart, and you amaze us every day with the things you do and say. We are so blessed to be your parents, and I am so grateful you are my son. We love you, Eli. I mean... and then the song he put with this was Cat Stevens' Father and Son. And for those that don't know off the top of their head, it was the song at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 2 when Yondu passed away. It was it's an emotional one. So well done there, Justin. Love that right there. Let's bring in Joshua. He's got a fresh get or two he may be able to show off. What do you got?
I got 3 I'm going to show off real quick.
Go for it.
So speaking of Midnight Suns, I feel like these 2 are both very underrated keys. Both in the Pally bag still as well. Ghost Rider issue number 28, first cameo of the Midnight Suns, and then issue number 31, the first full Midnight Suns. Raw Newman copies sell for like $15-20. As of right now, you can go on eBay and literally buy 9.8 graded copies of these in the slab for less than $60 for each one.
That's crazy.
Exactly. And I mean, regardless of the rumors and whatever happens, I still feel like that's 2 very underrated, undervalued keys. So pick those up. And then the last book is something that I've been wanting in the collection for a long time. And this is some Adam Hughes Catwoman. And this is issue number 45. One of my favorite covers. Essentially just because Batman's in the back, obviously. But Catwoman is looking pretty beautiful with eyes. I want to try to be a bit PG here, but
Oh, God.
yeah, so extremely happy to add this to the collection, and full haul video coming out tomorrow if you guys want to check it out and see how the show was in Cherry Hill this weekend.
Well done, sir. We're going to keep you on here to hang out as we move on to actually one of your best friends in the community.
I wonder who.
Nori Jordan.
Yeah. Oh, great. Thunderbolts. No.
Oh, hello, everyone. This week, I need a ruling from the Honorable Dan De La Torre. We're going to bring the judge in a hot second. In April, prior to the release of the Thunderbolts movie, I was excited to see a new comic book series was being released in June. I pre-ordered the many different variants because, as we know, I want them all. Now, let's fast forward. The Thunderbolts movie is released, and the asterisk was finally explained. I accepted the team's name change in the movie, but next Marvel changed the name series to New Avengers. I won't lie, it pissed me off. If you read the first issue and see the awesome characters for the team, it is clearly a Thunderbolts team. Please, Dan De La Torre, tell me what this team truly is. Take care, everyone. All right, so it sounds like they had a bait and switch.
Yes.
Let's bring the judge in. And Judge, do you have anything I would like to kind of, I mean, do you have a ruling on this in any sort of way? There's a bait and switch. Was Nori Jordan wrong?
He was not wrong. And again, I'm going on the pre-ruling of the Defenders, and the Defenders from the comic book versus the Defenders from the Netflix series. And Joe, I know he's shaking his head because he knows where I'm going with all this. Nori Jordan is not wrong. He's an originalist. I'm an originalist. They're still the Thunderbolts. That's my ruling. Case dismissed. Congratulations, Nori Jordan.
Josh, do you accept this ruling?
You know what? Dan's earned his right to say what he wants. So behind closed doors, I do not, but in front of the cameras, I agree with it.
Well, the door was wide open when you just said you didn't, so there may be some legal ramifications for that. Mark Lineker is up. He is not eligible because he is a finalist in June. I wanted to show some interiors to Metal Hurlant 2, as well what the subscription insert to Heavy Metal looks like. Shit, last pick. I didn't get all the picks. Damn it, Mark. I am so sorry. I'm sure there must be web pages, vids, and or PDFs of Metal Hurlant and Heavy Metal online. With art like this, it seems inevitable, irresistible. Art includes Drullet, Richard Corbin, and Mobius. Right here, I was just blown away by the look of this. These two books, incredible. Heavy Metal had some really cool covers. Any thoughts here? Oh, Mark said it's the wrong write-up.
Yeah, you got the wrong write-up.
I guess there wasn't any additional pictures here. Anyways, but I love the fresh gets there. So well done, sir. Moving on, we have one more. Actually, no, that's all of our fresh gets for the week.
Hey, just one real quick. I already brought up. I knew you had made a mistake because I looked at this post earlier. So I brought up the actual one. He said Heavy Metal 1. United States 1977, and Metal Hurlant 2, France 1975. Seminal adult fantasy illustrated comic magazines. When the publisher of National Lampoon went to France in the mid-70s to start up a foreign edition of their magazine, they ended up bringing back plans for a U.S. version of a French one, mixing horror, sci-fi, and fantasy with eroticism and wry satire. These magazines have inspired art, comics, movies, music, and genre media for over 40 years. Pro tip, be sure the subscription slip is attached in early HM, I guess Heavy Metal issues. CGC notes this. So I guess you'll probably get an incomplete, a green qualified label if the subscription slip, that's a little piece of paper that you used to send in to renew your subscription. Good info, Mark. Thank you very much.
Always with the good info. That's my fault for taking the wrong caption off of the wrong picture. So
yeah, you have a lot of infractions today, Jeffrey.
Oh my God. I got everything done so early. I felt like I was, just cruising on up to 7:45, but I'm better on my toes. You know what I mean? I'm better rushing and getting this stuff done. All right. We got some decisions to make, Joseph. The judge is here to make a ruling. So here we go. I have 1, 2, actually 3. There are 3.
There's quite a few good ones. I'll kick it off.
Mark Lineker is the only one not eligible.
Right.
in order.
I will kick it off with Lexi's post. I thought that clicked a lot of the boxes. Obviously, a really cool presentation here with this background, and the book's really highlighted. You can see the background is a lot darker than the book itself, and that kind of like illuminating border around the book really does help it pop a lot. So checks the presentation box, checks the unique box. This is not something that I know. You know, we got an indie book here, not from a major publisher. I don't know if anyone else had heard of this book, but I certainly hadn't. But seems worth checking out. And, you know, just being able to relate to, you know, the stuff we read in comic books, a lot of that, a lot of the times that is the stuff that, you know, becomes our favorites, you know, hits home with us and, you know, something we can tap into and tie into our own life here. So, you know, thanks for sharing that one, Lexi.
Yeah, I appreciate this for all of the things that you said as well, like big time, but also how vulnerable she was by telling us her story. And I appreciate that even more because these things really, like, comic books could be so much more. This community can be so much more at face value. And I truly appreciate what you said and what you've laid out here. So well done there, Lexi, for sure. All right, I'm going to go Raising Elm. I love this because it's like just giving us a glance. We've known Justin since his son was born, like before, I think. And now this kid can spell, and he's reading every day, and just hearing how like how proud Justin and his wife is of their son. And I got to say, we never really incorporate this into our Fresh from the Comic Shop, but the music associated with the book, associated with his shelf, for me, it personally got me because this song is like, wow. I love my dad. My dad's the best person I know. I'm one of the best persons next to Alicia. I don't think of my dad when I think of this. I think of Guardians of the Galaxy too, and the ending there. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but it just really it hit me hard. So that's what I'll say. I don't know, Joe, if this was on your list, but
no, it certainly was. You know, I feel like, you know, if this show continues, we're gonna watch this kid grow up. Like, you know, he's been like an adjacent part of the comic book community family, ending up, I think, he's been in some pictures. He's certainly been talked about a lot. And,
I mean, his name is in Justin's Instagram.
ELM. Yep. Yeah, it's so cool that we, you know, I feel like I know this kid, even though I've never even met Justin in person.
I know.
But yeah, no, this one checks boxes too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I have one more. I don't know if you do.
I was really on those two more than anything else, but if you want to share your you know, your runner up, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, those two are the strong candidates for me, but again, like Caleb, man, we love how you're always submitting and putting yourself out there.
Yeah,
I absolutely love that. 100%. So keep doing that, please. Yeah, I don't know. You're one of our favorite people. So, all right. So we do have a tough decision to make, and it's between Lexi and Justin. And I mean, as much as I love both of these, I feel like one meets the criteria more than the others.
I'm leaning in one direction as well.
Who wants to say it?
Well, do you want to say it at the same time?
We'll
it might
3,
be different.
2, 1, and then say it, right?
3, 2, 1, then say it.
Yeah.
Okay, ready?
3, 2, 1. Lexi.
Okay, cool. We're good.
Judge, how do you rule?
Before I rule, just to follow up to what you said with the ASM book, comic books to this day, especially Marvel comics, when they came up with their Spidey stories to reach out to younger readers to get them to read, still don't get the credit they deserve. I mean, those are wonderful stories. They're collectible now. You can find them in good shape. But, you know, J.K. Rowling with her, what was it? Drawing a blank settling on this one. The Harry Potter series. You know, a book came out, the media made a big deal about it, and that's great that they're reading, but comics, again, underappreciated. underappreciated. This I was helped as a young person by reading comics, and it's great to hear stories that young people are picking up a book and reading, so getting their minds expanded. So, but yeah, back to our ruling here. Spuds Comics, you are the winner. Congratulations. Case dismissed.
Well done, Spud. You are moving on to the semifinals in June, the second semifinals. You'll be going up against next week's semifinalists. By the way, just as a reminder, please don't throw up. Please don't. I hope you
We
don't.
love Alexi. Yeah, everybody does.
I don't want you to have to clean that up. Where was I? Yeah, we do. Next week is the last show of June. We are off the following week, which is the 29th, because that's the 5th weekend in June. So, yeah, congratulations, Lexi. That your post is a perfect example of why we do this show and why we love doing this show. Why, the audience fuels the rocket that is the cannon. Doesn't make sense, but you know what I'm talking about. So I truly appreciate being here every week, hearing these stories, getting to be a part of your life as much as you're a part of mine. Like you all know, I love apple desserts, and I'm going to freaking house that when I go upstairs. I'll hand it off to the judge. By the way, excellent ruling from the bench today.
Thank you very much. Jeff, she's trying to fatten you up, by the way. That's how my wife caught me. So her mom fattened me up and put on 50 pounds so I wouldn't run away. And the sad thing, well, not sad, but the thing is, it worked. I was too fat to run away. So just beware of those apple turnovers. They're very good for a reason.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm not even going to think about that right now. I'm just going to enjoy it, every moment of that.
Well, look, happy Father's Day to everyone who that applies to. We love coming on here. I love coming on here because, the world's so crazy. You want to have a few moments of happiness and distraction. And that's why we come here. If we're doing that, we put a smile on your face. We've done our job. So that's why we show up every single week.
Joshua.
Happy Father's Day to all fathers out there today. I hope everyone had a great day. Thank you guys for tuning in every week, and it's always fun. And like Jeff and Dan said, it's get away for a couple hours, just talk news, rumors, fresh gets, Ask Joe, the new ruling from the bench, which I'm loving. I think it's a great segment. But it's always fun to be here Sunday nights with you guys, and it makes the weekend come full circle and gets you ready for the new week as well. So thank you guys, and hit the like button, subscribe, and let people know about Comic Book Canon.
Joseph.
Yeah, great show, great time. Tom mentioned something a minute ago when we were talking about the heavy metal stuff, that he has a story in an issue of Heavy Metal. So check out Heavy Metal 290, and I actually pulled up just so people know what the cover looks like, just in case you ever come across it. Really unique looking cover here.
Hell yeah.
Awesome stuff. So that's got a story by our very own Tom, aka Dr. Guion, who will be traveling to America in August for Terrificon. Oh, Spud has that one. There we go.
Oh, nice.
So
nice.
cool.
Hey, Joe, what number is that?
It's issue 290, and according to Key Collector, it actually has interior artwork by the Peach Momoko.
Oh, wow.
She actually got her start, or at least early in her career, was working at Heavy Metal, doing interiors there.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna get that issue. Anyways, excellent episode. Happy Father's Day to everybody. A lot of us, a lot of our audience, there are people that don't have their fathers, but we hope you are sharing fond memories of yours and what that person means to you. We'll be back again next week, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time. This has been a great episode. We love you all. Until next week, please be good to yourself, be good to others. Peace.